we get started, this is the month of August. So as always, the second regular meeting in August, or the second meeting in August, we never have an admin meeting because we are always in Perdido. So we will be in Perdido during the admin meeting, during the time in which the admin meeting is scheduled this year. So we will have our admin meeting at 9 a.m. on Monday, August 28th, and the regular meeting will be at 10 a.m. on Monday, August 28th. So that's that. Also, excuse me, the budget work session is going to be on Monday, and it will be from 1 p.m. until that is an open meeting. So public is certainly welcome and invited to attend. Tell you this has been a difficult budget cycle, just trying to fully fund this wage study, which is going to be expensive. So sharpen your pencils because we don't have our work cut out for us. Any other comments or announcements from the commission? All right. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the agenda under awards and presentations. Now, this item will not be on the meeting on Monday because on the agenda for Monday, because the Department of Human Resources, they are here. Y'all want to come up and introduce yourselves. And if you will tap that where it says touch, yep, it is on. So y'all be able to speak and everything will be broadcast. But long and the short is we are interested in relocating that building. I know I have talked to Miss Leslie, who is over Houston County DHR, and she has talked about for a while now that they need more space. The building is antiquated. I think it was built in the 50s, if I'm not mistaken. 50s, is that correct? Okay. So it's been there a while. That obviously comes with increased maintenance expenses. So they're interested in building a new building. We're interested in building a new building because we think a new building would lower our maintenance cost. And y'all are here, so maybe y'all are interested in building a new building too. So anyway, y'all want to just open it up and then we'll just kind of go from there.
Yes, sir. My name is Stan Landers, and good morning, Chairman and Commissioners, Chief of Staff at DHR. Brought with me here today, Randall Beasley. He's sitting right here. He'll be the one to answer any questions you have. We'll talk a little bit in general about how the process would work in regard to getting a new building started and that sort of thing. Also have Daniel Spartan here, my Deputy Chief of Staff, who might be able to answer some questions as well. So I think the best thing for me to do is just sit down and get out of y'all's way. Let the people up that are back here, the answers, get up here and talk a bit first and give you the overview. And then any questions you have, we'll be more glad to answer.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Good morning. I'm
Morning.
Randall Beasley. I'm Director of General Services for DHR. And so, however you want to do this, if you'd like to ask questions or if you want me to give you a general overview of the program, just kind of whatever you want.
Yeah, Randall, I know you and I have talked. We met out there at the facility and looked at the prospective new site on Pravat Road that we recently acquired. I guess refresh me and inform the entire commission kind of on how this works. How do we sort of get in line to make this move? How does the financing work and things like that?
Okay, so this will be a quick overview, but in general, what will happen is that the commission, maybe as the end product, maybe not there or whenever y'all so choose, would basically make the request to our commissioner. And is whatever processes you have to go through to do that, you would handle on that end. And then she would get your request. And then after she has done her approval for us to look at a new building, if we get to that point, so this is kind of how it works. DHR does not own any buildings, we lease everything. And typically what happens is the county would form, either use an existing or form a new PDA. And for our deals, typically in the last 5 or 6 that we've done, the PDA would lease it to the county, and the county would sublease it to HR. Now, with that, means of payment is through a bond issue. But you have to remember that during this whole process, DHR will be responsible for all the costs. So all the upfront architectural, all the, closing costs, underwriters, everything, that'll be in the bond issue. And DHR, and my guess is on this project, if it was 45 or 50,000 square feet, probably be repaid 25, 30 years. But DHR makes all those payments. And then typically after that, it's the same as the building we're listing right now. We do 10 years and $1 a foot on the first lease. And because DHR will be responsible for all the repairs on the building from the beginning to the end. And so the process would be at the point in time, the commissioner approves, then I would come back and meet with y'all so that.
It's always a day, just take a look.
Or however, your PPA, however you want to leave it, do it. They would do the contract, with the architect, and then we'll get going.
Gotcha. Okay.
Does that help?
I think so. So we need to vote, probably vote, do a resolution where we request a new building with the state DHR. I think I'm clear on the financing. What questions do y'all?
Go back to where you said $1 a foot.
Yeah, the way it works is because, and we do this statewide, we do have some third-party leases. So if you go on the finance website and see that we pay $50 a foot in Mobile, Alabama, that's for the private land for it. On the bond issues though, since we pay for all the bond and all the building repairs, there'll be nothing on your side. We do the insurance, we do all the repairs, everything from start to finish for the term of the lease. So after that initial term, statewide, we do $1 a foot, where we pay you $1 a foot a month to continue to lease the building, but we still continue to do repairs.
Okay. Cool.
And then they do get in and state finance after that, and only do 5 with the rental, so it's 5 plus a 5. So you keep rolling the 10s until y'all want to build another building.
Yeah. Well, we'll be around by then.
Yeah. So, does that help?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Other questions?
So what cost is it to the county? What cost? Do we have to provide the land?
We have to provide the land.
We have to provide the land,
Yes, sir.
and that's it. That's the cost on the county. Other than that, that all is from DHR, state DHR.
Yes, sir. Yeah, since they're revenue bonds, it won't count against your rating. It's not, doesn't do anything with, if you're earmarked for X number of million, the DHR won't
Okay.
go against any of that, since they're revenue bonds, and we pay that back.
So do we take out the bond and then you pledge the revenue, or does the state take out the bond?
Well, well, actually, and I'm sure your attorneys here, probably the PBA would take it to do that. But if you read the lease and then also the other 4 inches of the bond,
Yeah,
it's the state pays everything
gotcha.
for that.
Okay.
But everything's basically the way it works is after you bid it, you'll have that number, and then they'll already have figured in the premium, the discount, the underwriter, the closing costs, and all that.
Gotcha.
Then they'll go, and then our payments are computed based on that, and the rest of the bonds. And then we do the repayment on those. And usually they're variable, especially if you go 25 or 30 years.
Gotcha. Okay.
Does that help?
No, it does. It
Okay.
does. I know, and we've talked about a lot of this, but it's been several crises ago for me personally, but,
I mean, I think the key for the commission is, yeah, you do provide the land, but after that, we know architects have done our last 7 or 8 buildings. You obviously get to appoint whoever you want, but for us trying to do it quickly and efficiently, and they know our building, they know our
Yeah.
program, know our program areas, they know our security, they know everything. Y'all would do the contract with them, and they basically do everything, just, they just bank it all their time and they get paid at the bond close, and there's no in between payments for them. And then bond attorney, they get paid unless you close and that
gotcha.
on that, but they just roll theirs until the end.
Gotcha. We don't have a public building authority. But we'll discuss that, and I don't think we're gonna have this ready to go on
And
the,
again, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but like on the legal part, that's just kind of, if you go, you can go look. We've used the same attorney for all the one deal,
Uh-huh.
and they copy paste photos in there.
Gotcha.
And they have it good go. That's the way they've legally done it, but there may be, 100 other ways to do it, but they've done that tier where we sublease it back for whatever reason.
gotcha. We are, at least I'm very interested in doing this. I think a new building would be good for DHR. It would be good also for our citizens because, if they have a newer facility with more area, they could have a better service. So, excuse me.
If you get a chance, some of the new buildings that we've done in comparison to our old ones, we've done one in Chilton County, Blount County, in Troller, and we've done one in, also in Phoenix City and Russell County. And those kind of prototypes, when I say prototype, they take that same type theory because our program groups and everything are the same.
Mhm.
In this case, I would think the one variable will be how big the commissioner wants like the training facility, since it's a large county for us. And just you want the training facility, like a small one would only be 40 or 50 people. This one may be 100 since we do regional meetings.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I will, one final time, any final thoughts, questions?
What would be the square footage on that building?
It's a good question. I would say between 45 and 50,000, just based on
Wow.
our needs right now. The big determination on that would be on a training room, if she wanted it to be like the normal size, to use it as regional. But then we also do build in, to make the math simple, to have 100 people, probably factor in 110, 115 offices, so you walk in with 10 or 15 vacant, because we're gonna grow in the next 50 years.
Yeah.
And so,
Absolutely.
go ahead and build that in. You'll have some vacancies coming in, but then you'll have built in for it that on both, because we have kind of two sides, our child welfare and then our financial side. And so for those, you want to build in, the time officer, here, and all that.
Gotcha.
Does that help?
Oh, yeah.
I got one more question.
Yes, sir.
Since y'all do what you do, in y'all's opinion, and this is for the public so they can hear it, because some people want to know, does that building need to be, y'all need a new building? Do you need a new building?
That's where they way above my pay grade.
Well, I get it, but in the end, y'all,
I'll say this, is I'm familiar with the building we're in now.
Mhm.
We try as best as possible, y'all run into the stew to do one story. With all the elevators and all that kind of stuff, and then the access and everything. And so when you go in and update the building of that size for us right now, it's gonna be so much more efficient than one of the buildings built in 2000, one of them built in the 50s, whatever.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a lot more, it'll be all LED, all on and off lights, all the new codes, all that's in there, so it'll be much more efficient for us.
yeah, and I will say this, I go in and out that building with my job, I do at the sheriff's office full time. So I've seen in and out that building, and I think y'all are out of office space as well. There's not enough office space, from what I can tell. Yeah, and so there's a lot that takes place in there people don't realize, of children coming in and so forth. But most definitely, my opinion is you do need a new building. But I want to hear it straight from you guys that are higher up, more or less, to hear what your thoughts are. Well, you're the lower up, it makes it better.
Our commissioners are,
Yeah.
commissioner on the yes, but I will tell you the efficiency would be,
Sure.
Concur with Randall's remarks, yes, it'd be more cost effective to do something like this, especially for people all in
Right.
too, with all the repairs and all that sort of thing that we're having to do. So speaking from state perspective, yes, I think it'd be much more cost.
Gotcha.
Okay. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
The only other thing I would mention is that, the relationship that we have either with the city or county when we do, and then when, y'all know today, y'all's county is very good people over there. They help us, they'll assist us. And we have some that, which by the least, they don't have to. Y'all been very helpful. We're appreciative of that as well. Anything else?
I think we're good. I appreciate y'all taking time to
Just let us know.
visit and come down. Yeah, and we will discuss it with our attorney on how best to proceed, but we will be in touch hopefully with you pretty soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
I think I got to put in the middle, so.
All right. The second item under awards and presentations will be a presentation by CASA of the Wiregrass. Miss Lori Killingsworth, the executive director, will be here. Any objection for that one going on the agenda?
No objection.
Okay. All right, item number 3 under awards and presentation will be a recognition of David Duke, Wiregrass 211, who is retiring at the end of this month. So any objections for that recognition going on the agenda for Monday? All right, moving on to the proposed regular agenda. Item number 1 will be a request to reappoint Jennifer Stanley to the Dothan-Houston County Communications Board. No objection.
Okay, go.
Okay, no objection to that one. That will go on the agenda for Monday. Item number 2 is a request to approve budget amendment for the sheriff/jail department overtime due to the jail kitchen remodel. Peter's going to talk a little bit about this. I will tell you, we met with the sheriff and the staff at the jail, and their request, quite candidly, was a lot more, I say a lot more, quite a bit, a little bit more than what this proposed budget amendment is. And we had a good discussion. I just mentioned this a little while ago. We're in the midst of budget season. It is going to be a difficult budget. We are trying to fully fund a wage study, which as long as I've been on the commission, I don't think we've ever done. So they requested 75,900 roughly. This approval is for, I think we sold 50,000. So I want to put that out there because it may go over this approved budget amendment. And I don't want you to be surprised if we're back here in a month approving another little budget amendment. I have spoken to the sheriff, and he is going to do his best to hit this number. He knows that things are tight, but sometimes it costs what it costs. So he's going to do his best. But anyway, Peter, any context that you want to add to that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only thing I'd like to say is that this remodel project for the jail kitchen has been a long time coming, and there's been a lot of moving parts that have had to be coordinated. And it's been expertly managed by our county buildings manager, Tommy Dixon, and the new jail captain, Captain Bill, coordinating and making sure that everything is on site, ready to go. So we minimize the amount of time necessary to make the inmate meals off site. One of the difficulties is we're bringing in a mobile kitchen to be able to perform that meal preparation. And the inmates assist in the jail kitchen, internal kitchen meal preparation. And in order to be able to have them be able to participate on an external mobile kitchen, we needed security. And this overtime is specifically for security, enhanced security for the jail property while these inmates are in and out of the jail building, still in the secured area, but they are outside the normal door.
Mm-hmm. The potential for escape with something like that is actually more risk there, and that's why we feel, and obviously the sheriff feels, that additional security is demanded in this scenario.
And hopefully this remodel will only take between 6 and 8 weeks, and we'll be back to normal operations.
Any questions, thoughts, discussion? All right. Any objection to this item going on the agenda for Monday?
Objection.
Okay. Item number 3 is a request to approve resolution to amend subrecipient agreement using American Rescue Plan Act funds for water infrastructure project and approve accompanying agreement. Peter, why don't you talk about this and then I'll pick it up from there.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a situation where the rules and guidelines on these federal funds are somewhat challenging to navigate. And in this particular situation, the way in which the subrecipient is funding the activity of this water project, we had to alter the subrecipient agreement to make sure we stayed within the confines of the federal guidelines. And that's essentially what this amendment is to do, to amend the way in which our subrecipient is receiving funds from the county out of the ARPA funds and make sure that they stay within inside the guidelines and the fencing put up by the federal government.
My understanding is that typically we pay upon completion of a project. In this instance, what we're changing is we're not paying upon completion, we're paying upon invoicing, and we're making this change so that Houston County Water Authority can cash flow this construction project, because the cash is just not there for them to pay out of pocket $5 million and then get reimbursed. We will disperse funds upon invoicing. We are going to withhold 5%, which is an adjustment. Typically, we would not withhold anything correctly unless we were dealing with somebody that had enhanced risk, which gets into the weeds a little bit. But we are going to withhold 5% of the contractor invoice price because of the slightly increased risk, which we don't think is substantial, but it is probably greater than zero. And so we're going to withhold, and then obviously once the project is completed, we will up and everybody get paid fully. Any payment by the county will be conditioned upon documentation supporting the requested amount, so the invoice, contractor request, certification from the engineer of record as to the project completion, the bid specifications, and confirmation that the contractor was paid the full invoice amount from the previous payment. So that's the items that I've got here. So that's kind of the long and the short of it. Any questions about this item?
But there's not an increase in any monies from the prior agreement.
No, same amount. We're not increasing or decreasing any funding for that project. Good question. Anything else? Any objection to this item going on agenda for?
No objection.
Item number 4 is a request to sell Chevrolet Silverado pickup from EMA department. Now, I will tell you that sometimes things coming from EMA can be a little bit complicated, but I have asked. There is no grant funding involved in this truck, so there certainly is no problem with selling it, at least as far as I know. Now, if that changes, that may complicate things a little bit, but all the information we have is that no grant funding involved in this truck, and certainly sell it. So any questions or discussion on this item? Any objection to this item going on the agenda for Monday?
No objection.
Right. Item number 5 is a request to approve Rebuild Alabama FY 2024 County Transportation Plan. Mr. County Engineer.
This is just a plan that we have to present every year. It's our plan for next year, what we're proposing to do with these funds. So we'll have them out and all that cost, everything, estimated cost next year.
That's good. Okay. Any questions or discussion on this item? Any objection to this item on the agenda for Monday?
No objection.
Item number 6 is a request to enter into a settlement agreement with Triad of Alabama LLC, DBA Flowers Hospital, for tax appeals before the tax tribunal. I will defer to our county attorney or our chief administrative officer, whichever one of y'all wants to take this first, but this has been a long time coming. Press, come up here, and you have as I told you in the email, you have a knack for making complicated things seem simple. So give us the elementary version of this settlement.
As you'll recall, it was either last meeting or the meeting before that, we entered into a settlement agreement related to a similar item for the tax tribunal. In short, there were taxes that were collected on certain medical devices that have been paid out every year. We have to pay them back because it was incorrectly received. there is a myriad of things in terms of where the money went. The portion, but a large portion also went to the city and the county and Board of Education. And so the repayment of those monies is a complicated matter. The case and the proposal for a settlement agreement would pay out over a period of time that would allow for, and Peter would be probably better to speak about the ins and outs, the dollars and cents, but the repayment of the funds in the proposed agreement would mean that it would come out of future revenues and allow for the money as it came into the county and the education, boards of education, to be repaid without having to essentially swap hands amongst those three entities. As you guys are aware, the money that was collected and spent in the revenue taxes did not all come into the county. A portion did, but the portions due to two boards of education never touched the county. So we would be repaying, if we just paid out of pocket right now, the county would have to put all that money out that we had received. With the future payments, essentially it would be collected at the top end and never reach down to county and the Board of Education. So the repayment fairly follows where everybody's getting their same share pulled out that they had received previously. Does that make sense? The other portion of the settlement agreement is the law allows for a interest to be paid and received on the correct party. So there will be a interest payment that is attached to these funds being paid out in the future. That is part of the settlement. There is really no way to avoid that at this point, based upon our understanding in the previous rulings in front of tax tribunal in regards to these type of cases.
Correct. And based on the conversation we had, I mean, there's, if we try to take this to the tax tribunal, this will 99.999% chance will not end well for us, and we'll have to write a big old check almost immediately. So I think that this is probably the path that we need to take. There was an option to pay without interest, but we would have to pay that fairly quickly. That would involve going to the school systems and asking for money back from them. And so that would get potentially very complicated. So this to me is the best option. And I want to be sure about one thing, that we are not going to be responsible for this interest. So we hire a company that we didn't illegally collect these tax dollars. Now, we received illegally collected tax dollars, but we did not illegally collect anything. We hire a company, we pay a company a lot of money to do this work for us. This money was collected, in our opinion, illegally and sent to us, and therefore we believe that this company is going to be responsible for this interest. They will pay the interest. Now, they will do that willingly or unwillingly, but either way, they will pay this interest, not Houston County. Peter, any flavor, any salt and pepper you want to add to that recipe?
I think that is clear as mud.
Okay, I think you're 100% correct. Very
So I
complicated.
got a question.
Yes,
How do we make sure this doesn't happen again?
that's a good question.
This is the options for collecting taxes. And I will say this as clearly as I can. County can collect it itself, or it can hire somebody else. The entity that collects taxes for us did this for every other county that it has in the state, every other city that it did. The Department of Revenue had the same problem. So these taxes were collected, and it was done incorrectly. A law came into effect in 2016 that turned certain things into tax exempt items, and that didn't get changed. For the county to look and do this themselves, I don't know how much that would be in terms of practical man hours of not only knowing the law and going out and collecting. So that's the purpose behind us going out and hiring this entity. The entity is responsible, in my opinion, based on the agreement, for collecting the taxes properly. So we received the money. That's not in question. The issue was we just got it wasn't supposed to come to us. It was never supposed to have been collected. So how do you do it in the future is up to these entities to collect the right taxes. And so the county was responsible for the tax being collected because it was voted on and passed as a Houston County tax. But the purchase or the acquisition of those funds, the county has no more, we don't do that. We've given that role to somebody else. So how do you do it? Right, it's making, I don't have a good answer for you because every answer creates more legal hurdles for the county. In my opinion, I would not like the county to be its own tax collector because it would have been a county's problem if we would have gotten this wrong. The Alabama Department of Revenue got it wrong, and they had to pay everything back. So this was not a isolated incident to Houston County by any means. This is across the state, and the reason why we are so certain on this is because it is already the same exact scenario has been played out several times in front of the tax tribunal. The answer is very clear in terms of what we would expect for a result.
Yeah, and I guess to delve a little bit deeper into your question, like Counselor said, we can collect it, which I don't think I would be in favor of. I'll be honest with you. The state can collect it on our behalf, and in this case, if the state collected these funds, it's really out of that settlement and what happens, and that's really completely out of our hands. So I think in this scenario, even though the company did, in my opinion, did not do a good job of interpreting the law, that does afford us a little bit more flexibility, and we're not going to pay the interest. They're going to be responsible for that because they breached that contract.
And this may sound like grandstanding, but from a legal perspective, you put the county in the best position it could be to address this issue. The fact that it happened, we hate that it happened, but of the choices available, the state collecting it, the county collecting, or this third entity, that's the fact that someone messed up and it was that third party. That's a better position than if it was us. It's a much better position if it was the state. Say that from a legal perspective.
Any other questions?
We had discussed, we hopefully finalized one last month. And then we got this one before this go around. Is this the last one that anybody has any knowledge of that's going to come to the commission?
It is the last one that we're aware of. The time period for when this could have happened is rapidly closing. The entity that we're using has stopped the collection, right? I think we know there's no more coming forward. The agreements that we've entered into have extinguished any future right for these entities to come forward and request these funds. Could there be a possibility of another entity coming forward? There's a window. What do I mean by the window? There's only so much time that can lapse for them bringing a claim. Otherwise, they lose the claim. It's a statute of limitations issue, essentially. Time every month that goes by is less and less that they come and collect. And the settlement with Flowers is going to be magnitudes greater than anything else, just from a practical perspective that the county would ever see. For instance, Southeast Health can't actually bring, but there's no claim that they could bring, that they're not subject to taxation. The biggest person out there that we could deal with is Flowers. This is settlement. That answers your question.
And I take it there's no other penalties that this company can be held liable to other than them paying the interest.
We're investigating all those items. That's our next step. This is step one, is to get this solved and know what we're aiming for, and then we're going to move forward with this company. I want the county protected and secured, what we're having to do, and then we'll move it on to address this. We're obviously going to look at all the possibilities.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you, Chris.
Yes, thank you. Good job on this. Any objection to this item going on the agenda for Monday?
No objection.
All right, that concludes the regular agenda, but we do have two privileges of the floor requests, which we always are happy to entertain and encourage. First up, Mr. Gary Knight will come forward. He's going to talk to us about town hall meetings. I'll tell you, this is something I used to do as a commission, greatly enjoyed it. Gary, 5 minutes, the floor, as they say, is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. What I'm asking the committee to do is start considering having town hall meetings. Right now, as it stands, we have to make a request that falls upon the tenant to the cities, entertainment or not. Town hall meeting is large, and I cannot address any of the council or the committee here, but you can at a town hall meeting. We can have a monitor who would mediate this thing and keep it under control. Since a lot of things that one commissioner may know that another doesn't know. Now, this would open it up to the public. They open up to the news media. I'm not sure whether everybody's aware that I had made a request to head up board member considering where did head a bank. And I was advised that I wasn't going to be given that information because it was private. Well, who made that decision? It may or may not be. It's just kind of like me having a football team without very low officials. What you need to do, what I'm asking you to do, is to send a letter to the Attorney General and ask him to step in and monitor what's going on. I'm sure not everyone's familiar with the fact of about $400,000 has been sent out of state to a head employee who bought land. He then turned around and another head employee formed a company in Cheyenne, Wyoming. The first employee gave the land to TCDC.
Gary, I appreciate you coming, but
I know.
you signed up to talk about town halls, so let's keep it on that subject.
But
I'm getting some looks up here.
I know.
Well, help me out.
But I just want to say we need to go. The sheriff, he can do very little. He's not equipped to do it. I've asked him about investigating that. And if he would investigate it, he has people on the commission himself. So that ties his hands. You know, I'm just wanting everybody to know that the nation would be open to this town hall. Trying to set up. I know you've had a town hall meeting. I don't know how many others. I know some of you have never had. So this is something that we need to do. Open government, honest government. We're seeing it in the news every day now. It's not there, and people are very suspicious. Doing the right thing. So if you would consider opening it up for a town hall meeting, asking the Attorney General, what I can't say, but it just needs to be opened up, and the third party needs to review these acts in the past, where these things, the suspicious things have been going on, but nobody's being accountable. There's no checks and balances. So with this, I would appreciate your consideration in this. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. And yeah, I would always encourage town halls and not say that I always enjoyed mine. Last one I did was a little bit frustrating. I got in an argument with a guy for 5 minutes because he was mad about me calling it a town hall meeting. And I thought that was so pointless. But anyway. All right, let's see. Next, we have another request. Thank you, Gary, as always. I do have another request. Mr. George Trotter is here to can ask questions. So I'm going to say comment on South Park and Malvern Road four-way stop proposal and adoption. Mr. Trotter.
Chairman, Commissioner, my name is George Trotter, reside at 4218 County Road, 3 Dothan, Alabama, 3631. Thank you, Mr. Knight, for your comments up here, right along tracking with what my concern is. I simply had a question at the meeting prior, not this meeting, but the meeting prior, the administrative meeting. correct me if I'm wrong, administrative meeting, the purpose is to set the agenda for the items that you're gonna approve in the regular official meeting the following Monday. That's on Thursday. Is that correct?
This is your time to address the commission.
Is that correct?
You know that to be
Is
correct.
that correct?
You know that to be correct.
I asked you the question, sir.
And this is your time to address the commission. This is
Okay.
not a question and answer back and forth.
I simply had a question at that meeting relative to the four-way stops on South Park and having to do with the school traffic in the whole. I simply had a question and a comment to make, and I was so rudely hollered at by you. Disrespectful. The most disrespectful thing I've seen in this Houston County Commission meetings for the going on 5 years I've been attending these meetings by anyone. Citizen, but particularly coming from the chair of the Houston County Commission to holler at me, a citizen, I had raised my hand. Okay, because I didn't get in here an hour ahead of time and see the agenda, what was on the agenda, and see there was an item that concerned me. That I raised my hand very politely and left it up for 3-4 minutes, and you totally ignored me. And finally, when you went to move on to ask for a vote after y'all had made comments on all, you just ignored me, and I said, Mr. Chairman, can I? And that's when you hollered at me, sir. And let me tell you what, just so y'all all know, there's people all this state of Alabama heard that. I had people come up to me and say, sir, I can't believe it. Are you the man that he hollered at in that video? So that's the point I want to make. Now, here's my question that I have. And first of all, let me make a positive comment about our Houston County road and bridge. I met an engineer Tuesday. Out on South Park, at 203, 605, and Malvern Road. After I had sat at Malvern Road and South Park for about 45 minutes, and the traffic was moving, what I call, in my mind, my opinion, for what it's worth, pretty good considered. Pretty darn good. So I went on up to the other intersection where I met a young engineer, didn't even know he worked for us, but a very cordial individual sitting there recording and making comments on behalf, I think, of a request. He told me a request from our superintendent about, going there and evaluate. My comment to him was, I'm thinking probably in a year or two, we're going to probably need a roundabout here. We're learning how to drive roundabouts in Southeast Alabama. I grew up with them in Louisiana, so there's nothing new, but they move traffic efficiently and effectively and safely. But we're good. And that's the only comment. That was a question I had. And I so rude to say no to me. And the citizens of this county don't deserve that. And they're going to be informed about it. And what Mr. Knight requested, I've been here requesting more than 5 years for no reason other than transparency and accountability from our county commission. That's all I've been asking for. But I have been intimidated. Attempted to be intimidated. I don't mean intimidated. You need to learn that. I've been attempting to be intimidated. Okay, that just made my drive hard at what my objective is. That is what's right. So in mind, I want to tell you, you need to change the system. You call it rules and regulations, guidelines, decorum. Most any common sense citizen out here, I can assure you myself, I'll abide by those. And anybody that into these meetings will tell you I have not brutally disrespected this commission in here. And I've asked questions, I've stood my ground when I knew I was right. And I will continue to do that. And the people across this county deserve that. So please make some changes. Town hall, the final, this should be the primary town hall where people or feel like they're invited and have in them. Y'all make the decision, but you don't think for us. That's not what you were hired for. You were not elected to think for us. You were elected to basically facilitate and make decisions for us.
Thank you, gentlemen's time is expired. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all want to take